get some better lighting on this show. Oh, God, you don't need to see my kitchen. Ah. That'll do. Let's see. Can someone tell me if the volume is working? Always a challenge on a live stream. Anybody? This side of your screen, there should be a chat box. Tell me if the volume's working. Good. Okay. Excellent. We're going to pick an RV today because I can't make this decision. I can, but I've gotten wildly different feedback and I need an outside opinion, and my girlfriends are tired of talking about it. So let's see. Okay, good. Actually, we're going to pick an RV and then we have to pick a logo. I got to write that down. There's many decisions to be made today. And I have to make this decision before the end of the year because taxes, that's why. So driveway and logo. Jane, are you back in Arizona? I actually have to be out in Arizona shortly for work, video work. And I'm going to pull up. I tried to see in a YouTube live stream if you can share screen because it's almost 2023 and you should be able to do that. You can't. So we're going to have to try this the good old fashioned way, which is using two screens. 25-foot Class C. No. So anyone who's new here, and we'll get started when we get to like 50 some odd people. That's usually my rule. I hate Class Cs because they have that tumor above the driver's seat. I've always hated them. I hate driving them because you can see the tumor above you, and it makes for like a shady drive. I would never sleep up there. I don't want to store anything up there. It's not aerodynamic. I have nothing to me, a Class C is the worst of both worlds. It's not huge like a Class A. So for long extended periods of time, you still know you're in a smaller RV, but I have nothing nice to say about them. I could go on forever about Class A's. Late as usual. Hi, David. Arctic Fox, best made RV. So while we're waiting for the other 20 people to show up before I really get started on this, my whole vision was that, so I have the pickup truck. I have Bob, the Ram of God, a Ram 2500 diesel. And I really don't want to own two engines. So I thought I'll get a truck camper, like one of those things that it looks like a kidnapper lives in it. But then that'll be easy because then I don't have to own another vehicle and I can just like pop it in and out. Do you know that the Ram 2500 is like the one truck in the United States of America that cannot hold a truck camper? I thought that can't be right. It's a diesel truck. It can hold anything. I don't really know what I'm talking about for this part, but like something happened in 2015 where they changed the shocks or springs or absorbers or like pillows under it, whatever the hell they're called, from like a leaf spring to a coil spring. And when that happened, it made the whole payload system in the Ram 2500 wonky and very dangerous if it becomes top heavy. So Bob can pull a 16,000-pound bomb up a telephone pole, but can only hold my purse in the back seat. Like that, the payload is dreadful. The other thing I didn't know about campers that go on the back of the truck is that you have to take the whole door off, and it's not, you don't just like put it back there and then like go on your way. You got to take down the door. Well, the problem with the tailbed door is that there's a camera there and there's wires there. So you got to like, so I'm not gonna do that. So I'll tell you the two that I have. What about a minivan? Oh, Francis, no. It'll be a cold day in hell before. How would I park a minivan next to Bob? That would be embarrassing. I would never do that to my son. Truck campers aren't aerodynamic. They're not. And actually, when you see the big ones and you stare at it, you're like, how the hell is that not doing any damage to the truck? So I had to move on from that. I was kind of disappointed, but I'm not going to get a different truck. You really need a dually, like a 3500 dually. And well, I'm just, no, that's more truck than I need. All right, so we're almost there. So I'm going to have to show you the two models that I'm looking at, and then I have a pros and cons list because I'm an adult. And we need to figure out which one because I have to have this buttoned up by December 31st. After that, the tax issue, it becomes null and void, and then I have to wait again till the next year. So I'll tell you in a second which two to pull up, and we'll rock and roll. I didn't know this about RVs. The brands like Thor, Winnebago, they have districts and like only certain, like if this RV dealership sells Winnebago, there can't be another one for like a certain amount of mileage. And I'm like, okay, well, that explains why it's so damn hard. Like you can't just go for me, like down to Myrtle Beach and just hop around to different ones and expect to get kind of the same thing. Like they all have their sales districts. It's a pain in the ass. Pain in the ass. Let's see here. I'm looking up. It is a Thor. I'll just use the images. Thor floor plan. Good. Do you know? Okay. All right. So we're at 50. Perfect. Now we can just get the work done. Hey, Linda. All right. Let me get the floor plan here. So we went through this last year for anyone who's new. First, I had a van conversion. Loved it. It was fantastic, but it was not built for long-term living. It was built for 3 weeks. So there were all kinds of issues with like keeping it long-term. Then I bought a fifth wheel, the War Wagon. And the War Wagon was wonderful to live in. It was fantastic to live in. It was a nightmare to move around because it's just me. And I would flex, but I'd rip this shirt. So I am strong, but like not, it was just a pain in the ass. And I hated moving it. It was very cumbersome. So I sold that when we went through COVID and we were too afraid to touch our faces. So there was really no travel. I mean, there was, but it sucked because everyone's face was covered up like this. So I got rid of that. I bought my townhome. And then last year we went through this because I was going to take a Class B RV and turn it into a mobile office, which I'm still going to do. And so that way I could work out of it for real estate, but also travel when I wanted because, I can't even I don't really want to jump away for a weekend and spend $300 in a hotel. It's more than that. So it was going to perform two different roles. The issue was at that time, I was still living in an apartment and I really had nowhere to park it. Well, now I have somewhere to park it and somewhere to kind of plug it in. But I really want one and it makes sense now. It's a terrible investment for a real estate office because the brilliant minds running this country, I don't mean that, they have deliberately driven the housing market into the ground. So nobody wants to buy a house right now because it's 7% interest. And we have a whole generation of people who've never seen anything above 4. So ironically, last year they were willing to pay $50,000 over the sales price of a home, but this year they can get it under asking with repairs and closing costs, but 7% interest, so they don't want anything to do with it. Markets go up and down. We'll get through this. At some point, these rates will normalize, just like gas prices. Gas shot up. We stopped driving less. We looked at electric cars. Now we're all driving again. So we'll get through there. But this is a very poor financial decision for real estate. But I have to do this now. If I'm going to do this, I have to do it now because it's the tax issue is now. Okay. Storyteller Overland Beast. So, all right. If you've never seen the Storyteller, thank you, Scott. It is an absolute beast. I would not pick a fight with that RV, but I think it's like $250,000 and that I'm like a little shy of that. All right. So the two we're going to decide from, and I will try to keep, formerly from New Jersey. I'll try to keep a look on the feedback here because this is why we're doing this, is I have for 2 months gone back and forth on which one. Last weekend, I drove out to Atlanta, which was like 7 hours away. That was the nearest one I could find. And I was hoping I would hate it. I was so hoping I would hate it and that I would spend this money on something else. And I loved it. So if everyone, the two we're going to decide between are a Tolero, which is made by Thor, Tolero 20K, and an 18M. So if the class could please get on their electronic devices because I can't screen share on this stupid thing. So I need you to pull up the Tolero 20K, and then I think it's called a Rise 18M. Everyone pause. My mascara is washing off my face. Oh God, it's supposed to be waterproof. Tolero 20K, Rise 18M. So let's talk about the Tolero 20K first. And this is really busted, but I'm gonna have to hold it up like this because I can't share the screen. It's so stupid. It's not like YouTube is a new company. They should really have figured this out. All right, let me explain to you why I ended up with this one. You can probably barely see it. Here's the big benefit of this floor plan. When the sliding door is open, the first thing you see is a table and a couch. Now, I have protested diligently when I was living in my van conversion full time that a fold up, fold in, fold out bed is the stupidest thing you could own. And it is. Because in reality, when you live in a van or an RV, you are not going to make and break down that bed every single day. You're not. All those hippies you see on these van conversion videos that show like the cute little couple making and breaking down the bed every day. Bullshit. They're not doing that. They did it for the video, but they're not doing that in real life. In real life, you just leave it as is. And like for the first week, you make your bed and then you don't. You just don't because you live in a car. So it's not real. The reason that I like this one so much, the 20K, is because you open the sliding door and the first thing you see is the couch and a table. So for the purposes of a mobile real estate office, if I have it open and I'm at the beach or at the river or downtown or at events or like whatever I'm doing at the airport, if I have my logo on the side of the door and open it up, people can see someone working. And if you have ever owned or lived in an RV, you know that if your door is open, people, they come, they want to see it, they talk, da, 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 da. So that was the big get of this, is that you can see inside and see the actual office part. Now the bed folds out into a real bed and it's pretty large and it would be just fine, very comfortable. The two seats up front, they swivel, that's great. And then the other thing I really like is that the bathroom is in the back. I know that you have seen all the Instagram photos of that same skinny hippie couple with the back doors wide open and there's the beautiful mountain vista. And you think that they live like that. They don't. Because again, if you've ever lived in one of these, you know that if you leave the doors open, it's just a bug parade, just all the bugs, everything coming in. So you don't actually do that. And when you do it by yourself, solo female traveler, leaving those two back doors open makes you feel very exposed. I did not. I had them on the van conversion and I rarely ever opened them because there's just, if somebody pops around and sticks their head in, which people do all the time when you live in an RV, it's just like, what's your plan? Like, you can't like just drive away with your back doors flying open. So I like that on the back of this model, there is a wet bath. I will probably never use the shower, but it's back there and it's away from everything. And if I did want to use the shower, I could open up the back doors facing like the woods or a tree line or away and use the doors to kind of cut off humanity to get a little bit more space there. The kitchen, I'm not concerned about. I never cooked inside any of my rigs. You bring it outside because all your clothes will smell like food. If you cook inside your rig, just don't do it. Don't do it. Let me pause real quick. I have an 89 Chevy van you can use. No, it's not going to work. Put a Cirrus in Bob's bed, permanent big bed, go anywhere. So the other problem with the Cirrus is a light truck camper, is that most of the week I will be working. And so I really do not want a truck camper if I'm pulling into a very nice neighborhood or really anybody's house. I'd have to be driving around with it permanently. And I don't want that kind of weight on the back. I thought truck campers, I thought you just like slid them in and then slid them out, and you do not. That is not how those work. Bathroom in the back is the big plus. Yeah, I think so too. There's not many rigs that have them back there, but when you have the bathroom on a class B in the center, it takes up so much room. And the second you walk into it, it feels very claustrophobic. So I'm really a fan of that. But again, the whole get is the desk setup. So that's the other thing that I'll mention. I don't know if you can see it right there. See that little square? So when the side door is open, there is a second table that folds out and folds outside of the van. And so my idea was when I'm working, if I take that table and open the table, I can hang an agent on duty sign like right on the side of it and then put like pamphlets and stuff right there. So anybody who's walking by can grab one quick, or it's like a little advertising station to me. I probably wouldn't use it for anything else. Yes, I will cover the cost differences. So that is the Tolero 18 or 20K. And now we'll go through the 18M, and then we'll do our pros and cons. And then we really need to pick one because I have got to get this RV party started. They're not easy to find still. They are coming down in price, but they're still not easy to find. So let's see. Rise. If the class would open their screens to a Rise 18M, a Thor Rise 18M. And that is the next one we're going to look at. So the Rise is the exact same thing, only petite. So you have the same table with the couch, the same bathroom in the back, the same swivel seats. What's different is that that little advertising station, that little outside table is gone, and everything else is muy compacto. It is much tinier. So, Class B, it's on a Ram chassis. So that's great because then I'll have two Rams. We'll have our whole Ram family. Well, I'm going to take Christmas photos together, Easter photo. I'll decorate both the boys. I already have a name for it, but I am not telling you what the name of the RV is because one of these bastards on the internet will steal it. An ultimate rolling bedroom office. Yeah, that's the idea. Is that so? Before I do pros and cons, when I had the Babe Bus, which was on a Ram 2500 chassis, I actually did not have, I had no issues sleeping. I had plenty of space. I never really felt totally claustrophobic, but I hated working in it because like, you're like this, you have nowhere to rest your back, and it wasn't climate controlled. And so working was really a nightmare. And I get it. All the pictures of like one of them strumming their guitar and the other on an iPad, and somehow they make $100,000 a year with Shelter Dog. I mean, they're selling you a vision of what you want to believe van life is like, and it's not like that. Like, you have to go to work, you have to have internet, you have to have all the things, unless you're a trust fund baby, which I am not, as you can tell by all my Wayfair furniture. Let's see. Okay, vote for the first one. All right, let's do the pros and cons. Let's start with the 20K. So the 20K, and remember, they look exactly the same inside. It's a size difference. And on a Class B, size matters. Can I get an amen? When you have a Class B RV, so if you're in a Class A, like a big Kahuna bus, the difference between like 37 feet and 43, like, you'll notice it, but not really. I mean, it's just a big ass rig no matter what. When you're in a Class B, every single inch counts. I mean, you will notice everything. So the two, they're exactly the same finishes. They look the same inside, but on the 20K, that is a 3,500 chassis. So that's bigger than the Babe Bus. It's about 24 feet long. I hope I'm getting that right. 24 feet long. To me, it felt too big. I'm used to the 2,500 chassis. I thought that was perfect. You can get it into a regular parking spot, and it's the behind sticks out a little, but not a lot. You can parallel park it and it's fine. The 3,500, you're not getting into a standard parking spot. Your tush will always be sticking out. Is it way better than a C or an A? Of course, but she's a big girl for a B. So the 20K is on a 3,500 chassis. The 18M, that is on a 1,500. It is way easier to park. It's going to be easier to drive. It's going to be less gas because it's just less vehicle. But damned if you don't feel it. When you walk into those two units, and I did both last weekend, you know, like you just know, you can feel that you are in a smaller rig. And obviously, because it's a 2 or 3 foot difference. So the 20K is on a 3500 chassis. The 18M is on a 1500 chassis. If real estate completely falls apart, which again, markets go up and down. I'm not totally worried. It sucks right now because nobody's making any money, but like I would not want to travel very long distances for long amounts of time in the 18M. But that's probably not going to happen. It's just it's small. It feels small. The 20K on the 3500 chassis feels very big. It's very comfortable. You have ample storage. Everything is larger. So you do notice it. So the first decision that has to be made is what is more practical. The tiny one is going to be so much easier to whip into people's driveways, to park anywhere, to drive anywhere. It's just going to be simpler. But it's not going to be as comfortable as the 20K. My big vision is if I'm out at an event, like this week in Wilmington, we had the Ironman race, which I am not going to compete in because I have the bone structure of Quasimodo. I cannot run. And I've never seen anyone smiling while running. So I would not pay to go do it for a trophy or award. I wouldn't. But if I had it down at the Ironman this weekend with all my real estate logo, with the side open, my question is it as inviting, the smaller one, where we might be a little bit more closer together than the larger one? Remember, in both cases, they have a table and they have the swivel seats, but it is, you do notice the size difference. Let me check here real quick. I honestly think the 20K is better in the long run. I vote for the 20K. Extra room, more room for vintage suitcases. I think if you get another fifth wheel, you need a mid bunk. No one here is talking about getting a fifth wheel. I loved the War Wagon. I love living it. When I get land, which is very hard to find right now, I would put a fifth wheel on it, but I did not enjoy traveling with the fifth wheel. My 3500 fits in most parking spots. 2500 is the sweet spot. 2500 is the sweet spot. It is just perfect. You can get everything in there that you need. You can fit it anywhere. I mean, it's really beautiful. 35 is big. Like, it is a big rig. 20K is my vote. Something to visit with clients. If you're looking for something to visit with clients, I would not want to in a tiny van. So I think what Tammy is saying is that she would not, as a client, want to sit in a tiny van. And that's what I need to know. And that's why we're having this conversation. You parked a fifth wheel and this is much smaller. I did park a fifth wheel, but not with the help of Jesus and a bunch of truckers and like the whole RV park staff. Like by myself, no, that didn't happen. 20K is the way to go. 2500 handles like a car. Absolutely. Yes, we'll get to the price. Stand by. All right. So I think it sounds like what everyone is saying is that the larger is going to be more comfortable for everybody involved. Fine. Also keep in mind that a huge function of this and where the tax benefit comes is that my logo and everything will be on the side. I know. You won't be able to do any stealth camping. Stealth camping is bullshit. Everybody knows you're in there. Everybody has seen a Class B RV. They know you're in there. Like, it's fine. Will you be asked to move or leave faster because you've logos on the side? Probably. I'll deal with that problem later. All right, here's the next difference. The 3500, the 20K, is an all lithium ion system except the engine. I know that sounds very sexy to people, but I actually hate that. The 18M is a gas generator. Here's the funny thing. So everything runs on the 12 volt. The air conditioner runs on the 12 volt. The fridge is on the 12 volt. The lights are on the 12 volt. Everything's on the 12 volt. When I asked the guy at the dealership, I said, why did you do that? Like, why don't you even make it an option for people to have a gas generator? Like people like me who are okay with drilling for oil. Like, why is it not even an option? He said, it has nothing to do with saving the earth. They can't get generators in stock. So because they can't get generators in stock, they moved to an all lithium ion system. I have some questions about that because if your motive was to save the world and you gave the option of a gas generator, that's different than like, oh, we can't get in stock, so we'll just use this, because I'm not sure that the all lithium is the superior system. Captain Michael, who worked on the van conversion, he's very nervous about that, and so am I, because it's hard to find people who can work on them. Also, they mounted the entire lithium ion battery system underneath the rig. Now, every lithium ion car has their lithium ion batteries underneath. The whole bottom of a, what are those uppity cars called? Not Segway. What are they called? Tesla, that. The whole thing underneath is a battery, fine. But if you've ever driven a van, if you hit a pothole, if you hit a speed hole, if you hit some small child that was trying to cross the road and like, oops, ended up underneath your van, when you have all that weight, when you go up and you come back down, you come down. Like, you meet the earth. So there's all these stories of people with their lithium ions mounted underneath who bottom out their lithium ion system. That's a big problem because like one of those batteries is $8,000. So a lot of the owners have had to move them inside. I really don't want to go through all that. But there are some pros to that. Number one, you don't have to fill it up with gas. That's phenomenal. Number two, if I'm out at events or trying to stealth park, which won't even happen, but namely at events, like if I'm down at the beach and I have, the whole thing opened up, it will not make as much noise. Now, how long does that last? Not very long. It's a battery. So if I run the kettle, it's going to draw it down really quick. They said that the air conditioning, if you run it cycling, not like just straight on, that it should last about 8 hours. I don't believe that at all. It's probably 8 hours, assuming you run nothing else. That lithium ion system is hooked up to the alternator. So as long as I'm driving, it will charge, or I can plug it in at the house, or you plug it into shore power. So the 20K, the big one, the 3500 is a lithium ion system for everything in there. The 18M, the petite version, that is a gas generator. So I like that because if it runs out, I just go to the gas station. If we have a hurricane and there's no power, I guess, I don't know if you can really pump gas if there's no power. I don't know. I have seen how quick batteries drain down. And so there's something to be said about a good old fashioned ozone depleting gas generator. I just think there is, but it would be noisier. So those are the two differences on the powering of the systems. Let me check this real quick. I thought you could get either in the 20K. So I think on the older 20K models you can, but on the newer ones you cannot. So then you're relegated to finding a used model that has the gas system, and it's just not very easy to find. The 20Ks, there's not a wealth of them up for sale. Get the 20K, more room, more comfortable. I think that a realtor that had a mobile office would draw me to them just for their original. Thank you, Jeff. I can't tell you how much negative feedback I have gotten about this, like mean ass, which, like right off my shoulder. But people have said like, this is so tacky. I would never, da, 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 da. I would think it would be totally cool if I saw someone who was into RVs and traveling and was working like at the beach or just anywhere. Like I would think that would be badass. And I think the thing that people don't realize is when people think of RVs still, they like think of the creepy, predator looking old worn down RVs. These are beautiful. And I can't wait to tell you its name, but I can't right now. How about a custom design? No. Hard no. Patrick, I'm not doing it. I have built a van before. I ripped apart the war wagon and changed the inside, the interior. I'm not doing it again. No. Don't get a gas generator. Get solar with Battleborn. Well, it doesn't Eco Delta. No. So both of the rigs have a solar panel. I hate solar. I'm very vocal about that. They both have it. It's already there. The conversion rate on solar is 25%. That's pathetic. It'll give you a little boost for your lights, but it's not going to do shit otherwise. Let's see. Why on earth would someone come down on a mobile office? It's flippin' brilliant. God bless you, Steve. You know why? Pause. When someone does something different, It makes people nervous because it's not how it's done. The way things are done in real estate is that you send out these really tacky mailers where you smile like this with your photo and your big goofy grin and make some promises that aren't true. Like, I make buying and selling a home fun and stress-free. Bullshit. Selling a home is not stress-free and it's not fun. We're there because it is stressful and we're supposed to absorb some of that for you and help you get through a legal process. But anytime you do something different, I think you just get a lot of negative feedback. The argument has been amongst my real estate community is that for the cost of one of these, couldn't I invest in other advertising routes that's way less expensive? And I could, but I also want this thing because I want to be back on the road. Like, I want to be able, if I get 2 days, gone, shooting stories out somewhere. If I get a week, gone, back in Detroit, doing what I like to do. Get the bigger one. Clients want to feel comfy, not cramped. Okay, so this is really helpful because to me, it doesn't matter because I've lived in teeny tiny cargo vans. So I don't think about being uncomfortable. But it's interesting to hear from other people's perspective. Like, would you not want to get inside because it would be a little bit too... Galen is here for the rants. Well, there'll be plenty more of those. I think it's cool that you can work and travel and live in your rig. Let me clarify one thing, Linda. I do not plan on living in this full time. I bought a townhome. I will say that the deal that I've made with myself on this is that I get 6 months. I'm going to give myself a time frame because now I have a very expensive time home and a very expensive RV, and Bob, who's expensive in all things. If the housing market totally bombs, which I don't think it will, I think we'll kind of normalize at some point. If it doesn't like pick up again and I don't start making like a regular income again, I either have to sell the townhome. Thank you, Inspirational Nomad. Sell the townhome and move into the RV, or rent the townhome and move into the RV. So I have a 6-month deadline to pull this off if I'm going to buy it. It's good to have a home base. It is good. And I have said this extensively in my videos. I get the allure of the untethered life. I totally, because I lived it. But at a certain point, I don't think people understand how hard it is to live in your RV. It will wear on you. It just will. And I think there's something to be said about coming off the road for periods of time and then being back on. And I think it actually makes being on the road easier because you have that option. When you don't have that option, you're pavement, and it is a hard way to live. Okay. You have to be different. Things have changed over time. The same feelings I had in 2000 no longer apply. Keep thinking outside the box. Exactly. I think the way we do real estate is so boring. I think it's so boring. And my clients aren't boring. Most of them are crazy and I love them. Okay. So we're still on the 20K side then. Remember, like, we got to keep the money part involved, and I've not gotten to that yet. The next difference between the two is obviously if you have more space, you're on a Ram 3500 versus a 1500, the fridge is different. Both of them are a 12-volt fridge, and thank God, because my driveway is like this. So Captain Michael had to come over and look at the driveway. You cannot park an RV on an uneven plane for long amounts of time and not expect any damage to it, namely to the refrigerator. If you have a propane-fed refrigerator and you are doing this, it's going to break. I promise you, it's going to break. So both of the models have a 12-volt fridge. I may still have some issues if it's like this every night. I don't have a choice. This is the driveway. This is it, the driveway. Now, the benefit of the lithium-ion system is that if I don't use it heavily, it can stay parked wherever, and that panel and the alternator should keep those batteries at least stable. But the fridge in the 20K, the larger, is, like what you would expect on a Class B fridge, and also has a freezer, but it is much larger. And I hope you will bounce back and forth between the images of the 20K and the 18M as I'm explaining this so that you can actually see it through my eyes. The 1500 has a very small, like, college fridge. Now, since I'm not living in it full time, do I need all that fridge space? No, I do not. But that is the difference between the two. I'm changing my vote to the 18. Okay, so we have one vote for the 18. The 18 has the gas generator. You could mount a portable generator to the bumper and plug the van into that. So that's Pam's suggestion. That's exactly what Captain Michael said. He was like, look, just get a generator and bring it with you. You can put it in the bathroom, and then that way you don't have to worry about it. I probably wouldn't do that until I knew if I was going to be on the road for long amounts of time. Propane fridges cause most RV fires. Yeah, the industry as a whole has moved away from propane refrigerators. I like them. I had one in the War Wagon, and when you stop driving, it kicks right on. I never had any problems with it. Okay, two different refrigerators. That's not actually a huge deal, but it is part of the size difference here. The next one is the TV. The 20K, the larger one, has a TV that is mounted facing the couches. And I really like that because one of the things when you sit down with me, God help you, and I'm trying to explain the real estate process, which is very complicated, despite what people think, is I like the idea of being able to hook my laptop up to the TV and to use that as sort of like how I would in my office, where you have the TV up there and they can sit on the couch. I would sit in one of the swivel chairs and go through like the contracts or the MLS or all that. And we have the door open in front of us, so it's not totally cramped. But on days that it's rainy, if we have to do that, we can always shut the door. But the TV is mounted right near the door, facing the couches and clients. I can also edit there. So if I can hook the laptop up to the TV, let's say I find a cool house somewhere or a little town, it's not going to be like the van where I was like this. I can sit on the couch with the table and stare up at the TV while I'm editing. In the 18M, the smaller one, there is a iPad holder because there's just not enough space to mount a TV. I could probably mount a TV from somewhere, but it would have to be muy petite. And I also don't own an iPad. So there's a difference there. That's not a huge one. I went through the tables. Okay, let's talk about the big one, price. The 20K is about $110,000 to $115,000. That's not including sales tax. So sales tax is going to be like another $4,000. That's not including all the bullshit fees that the dealership adds to it. So, all in, out the door, you're probably looking at like, let's say worst case 120. That's a lot of money for a vehicle. That's a lot of money for a mobile billboard. Although I'll add that a standard billboard is $7,000 a month. So if I bought a couple standard billboards, I would get to 115 real quick. This is a billboard that I can travel in. Perfect. So you're looking at like 115, 120 out the door for a new one. Used ones are hard to find, but like that's the worst case scenario. For the 18M, the tiny one, you're looking at 90 to 95 out the door. Worst case, like 100. So we're talking about like a $20,000 to $30,000 price difference. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So the overarching question is, since what I'm doing is not a tested idea, there's no real estate agents here that have a mobile office. Should I try out the idea on the 18M, give it a go, see how it works, or go all in? And I understand, you should understand that you're spending my money for me, but there's a $30,000 price difference between the two of those. The other thing to add in is that the wrapping is another like $4,000 to $6,000. Now, I am not going to wrap the vehicle entirely because I don't need to. So it'll be a partial wrap, but the wrap is very expensive. So again, is $30,000 worth having a little bit more space, the TV, the bigger fridge, or do you test out the idea on this one, see if it works? If it does, then like next year you get the bigger one. My only complaint about doing that is that there's a lot of sunk costs. You'd be paying sales tax twice and you'd have to wrap it twice. So now we're talking about like $15,000 that if in a year I say, I want the bigger one, well, that's a sunk cost. So let me check. Do they both have an awning? They both have an awning. I really have never used the awning much. It's very breezy down here at the beach, and the fuse was always breaking. Did I consider a used Provost? No, I don't know any models that look like that. RV vans hold their value. Damn if they don't. I mean, I'm amazed that the used ones, they're like not far off from a new one. Now, will that change as the world like turns upside down? I mean, maybe it will, but Rise iPad mount can be used to mount a TV. Okay, so that's good. Resale value, I think they both resell pretty easily. Control your own billboard. I think the extra cost would be worth it. I do too. Uh, Gina wants the gas generator. I would be able to get away with the 18M, not the bigger one. So that's the other thing. The 20K is going to eat my entire driveway, but I mean, it's a one car driveway anyway. Bob fits in it, like barely, but I'd have to move him somewhere else. If you test the idea, you'd have to do everything a second time. Yeah. Don't spend money twice. 18M with a cassette toilet. Oh, David, thank you. That's the other difference between them. So the 18M, the smaller one, has a cassette toilet, which I am like so on board with. And the 20K has a black tank. I've had both. I actually prefer the cassette toilet because then you're not dealing with a black tank. Black tanks are disgusting. It's just me. So I don't care about having the cassette. I'd actually would have preferred that in the War Wagon. I hated dealing with the black tank. You got to flush it out all the time. They get really like stinky. Go big or go home. You deserve the luxury, and you're telling the universe you're hesitant if you go small. I just hope the universe starts selling houses again, Susie. Get the bigger one. You seem to prefer the larger space. Current resale prices will not hold. This is Casey. All in on the bigger one or bust. I'm still for the 20K. Service needed. Okay. So it seems like we're still on board for the more expensive one. I need somebody to buy or sell a home soon to be able to afford this thing. Prefer the cassette. Yeah. I mean, it's not the biggest deal, but it's a deal. Black tanks are they suck. So the last thing, it sounds like everyone thinks the 20K is the better idea. Outfit harder to get. Yeah, so that's true. The larger vehicles are hard to get in smaller locations, but we're kind of like splitting hairs, really, because when we talk about getting larger rigs, having trouble getting them into parks, we're talking about like 45-foot rigs. The vans are always going to fit into just about anywhere. They just are. I'd still have a gray tank with both. The gray tank is a non-issue to me because a gray tank, you can legally dump that just about anywhere. And people are always horrified to hear that. They're like, you put your soapy water down the street sewer drain. I'm like, where do you think your soapy water goes when it goes down your drain? Like of course that's where it goes. Yeah, so there'll be some differences in maintenance. Ironically, I'll be saving gas money with both of these vehicles because Bob is a diesel truck and he's $120 to fill up every single week. And the vans are gas and they get about, I think it's like 18 miles to the gallon, which is better than the diesel truck. So somehow driving a huge RV is going to save me gas money. Can your client use the potty? Yes, I guess so, but I will probably heavily discourage that. I mean, they probably won't want to because if you're not used to sitting on an RV toilet and the bathroom is like about this big, but yeah, I guess in an emergency they could. What's going to happen is I'm going to get this and all my girlfriends are going to want to go like on weekend trips and I'm going to end up having to clean out their poop. 18 miles a gallon, that's good. Yeah, the Ram chassis, I was surprised. They really are not heavy duty on fuel. Okay, so Mike P said, keep lay shitter for the client. Yeah, I miss that toilet. All right, so it sounds like pretty much everyone thinks that we're going to do the 20K. So now I got to go find a 20K. This is really helpful though because the more practical, financially frugal is the 18M. I just I don't know. If people are not going to want to sit in it and have a conversation, then I don't know that it's worth it. So, and you do get a lot more storage and everything else. The final decision of the day is the logo is what, so I'll probably use my name, but what logo should go on it? I refuse to use any kind of logo that has a key or a house or all the predictable bullshit that real estate agents use. So I was trying to think, and let me pull this up, of what would go well that speaks to me, that also speaks to moving, and that looks good on a van. And so I'll tell you, this is the last one we have to make, and then I'm going to go play outside. So I was thinking of a compass and like stretched over maybe like the whole back side, like from the side over the top and then onto the other side, like a compass. This one's kind of like a faded compass. There's that one. And then, or something that's a little bit more vintage looking, like that. And then the other option, so every real estate agent in Wilmington, North Carolina has the beach waves somewhere in their logo. And I just think it's really predictable. So this one has a compass rising like the sun over the mountains. Now, we don't have mountains here, it's the beach, but we have a very famous bridge, the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge. And so the other idea is I could have the bridge in the front and the compass rising kind of like the sun over the bridge. So let's see what we've got. How about a sun graphic? No, I'm not real estate agents use the same thing and all their. The only way that this is going to be like the sun is if I use the compass like the sun and the bridge and the base. Two keys interlocking, absolutely not. Love that bridge. Do the bridge. I like the vintage compass. Bridge with compass. We've got a couple votes for bridge with compass. Does that make it a little too local? Is the bridge with the compass in the back, or does that not matter? Moses leading a family to a new home. Yeah, something like that. Bridge with compass. Compass is eye-catching. So we like the compass, but not necessarily, we haven't decided, should the bridge be involved. The other thing I could do, let me see if I have an option that shows this. Oh, here we go. Come on. So this one, they have a compass and then there's an icon inside of it. So I could put the bridge inside the compass. Local shows you're proud of your home base. Bridge to anywhere. That's a good point. It doesn't necessarily have to mean the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge. I'm definitely not doing a logo with my face on it. Dragon. I should do a logo with a dragon. But like, here's the thing: people who don't know me, I have to come off as friendly and approachable for at least a little bit before they meet the real version. The last is the best. So this one, do you plan on living and working in it full time? No, I'm not going to live in it. I bought this. See this? I bought this. So I'm not going to live in it. No. I have no reason to. I've done that. I've lived in the RV for 2 years and I would like to travel in the RV and only live in it if I actually absolutely have to. No, we're not going to do a ninja. Put the image inside the compass. A sundial. Sundial's not a bad idea. All right, so it sounds like everyone likes the bridge. So that helps with that. I think I'll send it off to Fiverr and let some poor graphic design student. I kind of like that one, but it has to be stretched over. Who wants me? I don't know what that means. Anyway, all right, so we've decided on a 20K and there'll be some kind of compass with a bridge logo. And that this is the most productive conversation I've had this week because vintage compass. Yeah, I like the vintage. Will you add the battleship? No, I'm not going to add the battleship just because it's really predictable. And I don't know that outside people moving here, associate Wilmington with the battleship as much as Wilmington associates with the battleship. Larger RV, large compass. Okay. All right. Well, I should just come here for all my decision making. So I need to find a 20K Thor and watch all my money just disappear like that. But that's how it is buying an RV. I was amazed at some of the units that I saw. They were $250,000 for a Class B. For $250,000, like, it better tuck me in at night. That's insane. I really thought that at this point we would see more used vehicles coming onto the market, and I think we will. But when I've been sending these to some of my friends and they're like, "Oh no, don't get that one. Like, they only drove it 300 miles and now they're selling it." I'm like, that is the classic RV owner. Is people bought them during the pandemic, they took one trip on it, and now it's a lawn ornament. Also, something to know before we go, which I didn't realize until I went to the dealership, the warranty, the manufacturer's warranty, it transfers only 2 times. So let's say they bought it and drove it 300 miles and then sell it, it will transfer 1 to 2. When this person goes to sell it, it does not transfer to the third person. So just keep that in mind if you're buying a rig. If you're going to be the third owner, if there's a warranty, it will not come with it. You'll have to get something else. But the warranties are pretty much bullshit. You got to drive it back to the dealership, which is usually nowhere near you, and it takes forever. And you find yourself a Captain Michael mobile mechanic. That's how you get that fixed. Not gonna suggest nothing. Okay, all right. 250K for a Class B. Yeah, trading Bob in. Absolutely not. I will not. I will sooner sell this house than trade that truck in. It's a great truck. I love driving it. And then I'll have 2 Rams. So we'll have our whole family. I've got their Christmas outfits picked up. I'm going to dress both of them up for Christmas, and we'll take like a family photo, like holding their 2 side mirrors. It's going to be great. I need to give this logo thing some thought. Both images are strong on their own, but I don't know about combining them. Might be too busy. That's my concern. Is the compass with the bridge, is that going to be too much going on? Plus, if you're stretching it, what is something that I can, here, I'm going to shoot a video. Like, if this is the van, if the compass stretches like from this side, like up and over the other side, is that going to look weird? Because then you only see the bridge like in this corner, but a whole compass stretched over like that, I think you'd get. Because if you see the SWEN. So anyway, we can talk about this more. Sounds ramtastic. Do you still visit the cows? Yes. All the cows are pregnant. They're in the town over. And once I have the van, then I can perform Nanamoo duties much easier than I do right now. So they're all pregnant. They're having their babies in January. So we'll have a whole new flock of moos to go harass very soon. Okay. All right. I'm thoroughly exhausted talking this long. I think the compass maybe means travel. It does. So that's the criticism that I've gotten about the compass, is that it signifies travel, not home. I think I'm willing to take that creative risk, because here's the thing. The logo is on a van. It's on an RV. So obviously in there, on the logo, in the branding, there'll be something about real estate, but I think I might find more confusion seeing an RV with houses on it than the other way around. And obviously, you all know how I roll. This van is going to have a personality of its own on the internet. So I think people will be able. There is a real estate company called Compass. So I'm not the first person to do it. Signifies destination. One of the things we talked about is using like True North in branding, like finding your true north, navigating you home, like all kinds of cutesy little bullshit real estate slogans that you can use. And it's also going to play well with the book. So the book is with the editor, the book about my year plus living in an RV. And she has until mid-November to get it back to me. It's in a developmental edit where they look at all the chapters and they make sure that it's structured correctly. We did do a live reading 2 weeks ago, and I took it down. Some of you were like, "Oh, I saw it and it's missing." I took it down because that section of the book is very dark. and I can't put a trigger warning on a YouTube live. So I put it up, we read it, and then I took it back down because I don't want to deal with that. This it's not a pretty story in the beginning. It's rough, and then it gets a lot better. So the editor has a book, but if I have the van, obviously we're going to be doing speaking events with that book. So it comes back in November. It's got to go through one more edit, which is a copyright edit, and then I get to send it off to print. So I'm excited about that. Okay. True North, strong and free. Yeah, I like the True North thing. I think that compass equals search. That's a good point. Signifies destination, guiding you just like your realtor. There we go. Guiding you just like your realtor. Who also happens to be a fire breathing dragon. Okay. All right. I'm so tired because I have just talked for like more than an hour and I need to go get some sunshine. And I don't know why this keeps dripping off my face. Anyway, thank you so much, weirdos. The next big project is going to be finding the 20K. If you find a 20K, a used 20K, please, if it has to be the black one, not the silver one. If I get the silver one, I have to wrap the whole thing. That's another $2,000. I'm not doing that. I need a black 20K, preferably somewhere not on the other side of the country, because I really don't want to fly to California and then have to bring it back. So if you see one, shoot me a message. But we've got till December. So the Ram family will be growing by one more in 2022. All right, everybody. Have a good rest of your Sunday.